He's wearing pocket watch. What if these glowing orbs are their pocket watch, you guys? Anyway, so the guy who had this before me, I just gave him massive amounts of evidence that I did not own this back in 2009, and clearly didn't know that guy. You could read the messages. He's like, who are you? I don't know. We're not friends. He's not even a member of our faith, because since most of you listening are members of Church of Christ Latter-day Saints, and then some of you aren't, and that's okay. But those double lines. But he thought these were glowing orbs, and you might see. I mean, he's like, okay, here you go. I'm gonna go sell some Kuzanite crystals. Like, he's into that stuff. He's not. I don't even think he's a Christian. But he had this photo. He might be, though. I just don't know. I didn't ask him that much about his religion, but I won't say anymore. But if you look at my colorized or my artwork, I did a drawing of this picture. I wonder if this is a pin, but it could be. It's reflecting so much white light. I thought maybe this was a tie pin, like the S-shaped tie pin that Kim Marshall saw in her picture. But then Joseph Smith III also had a monogrammed pocket watch, and then I thought that this could be a carnation, and that's like a leaf. But there's just so much. He's got the swoop. The other guy doesn't have the swoop. Thinner eyebrow, thicker eyebrow. The other guy doesn't have any eyebrows. And he does have a bigger nose. But you see it in the artwork, so I don't think it's to have such tiny little nostrils and for them to look bigger in artwork. So anyway, that's why I went ahead and created this page. So this is a fascinating sketch where you can see this is his left eyebrow. It looks shorter. Like this, his left eyebrow in my picture, it's shorter. Long eyelashes. So I point that out. So this is from Joseph Smith Portraits, a search for Joseph's likeness, and you zoom in. We just don't know. It's unknown who did this, but they give the date, July 1842, so he's still alive. It says Joseph Smith. So many people were taking these art classes, and art was just blowing up, But that's not this tiny little nostril, That other guy that Norwegian guy, such a thin, tiny nose and tiny. That's the other thing. Someone's like, oh, well, they shoved cotton in their nose, and I'm so tempted to shove cotton in my nose and see how much it changes the shape of my nose. But I'm gonna have to put the brakes on that one and just not. You could just try it out yourself. Cotton balls are only $2 at the store. Anyone can do it. So unknown, but this is his left eyebrow. His left eyebrow. Tiny, tiny little ears though. But again, artistic liberties. They want to make him feel good. A caricature artist wouldn't. So if you look at Benjamin West, his ears are just big. But then this is his right side of his face by Sutcliffe Maudsley, and you're seeing just how quite thin his hair is, but this is not curly at all, but it's coming from back to here, and it's thinning out right there. It's 1842. I think this is 1844. And just even that you can see some of it coming out like that. You can see his hair is like that. It's coming forward, but some of it's coming out. And Bathsheba Smith, you're seeing that thinner left eyebrow. But those, his nostrils definitely weren't small. So, there's tiny little nostrils and that tiny little nose. Long eyelashes. Really, yeah, that's the other thing. Look at these really long eyelashes, Maudsley. So that's what the Gazette person was talking about. But you see, these are eyelashes coming down. You can, as I know it's going to up the contrast, it looks like I can see eyebrow hairs coming up like that, but these are really long eyelashes. They're like in his eyes as well. And then his left ear, especially, it seems to be Like his lobe is just really longer. His left earlobe is a lot longer than his right earlobe. Don't know what would have caused that. Oh, look, there's a scar. Okay. This was neat to do. So you can zoom in. I know some of these are really hard to see, but this is Maudsley from life. His right ear doesn't seem to often be, it just looks pretty normal. Sort of got that curve, but his hair is covering much of his ears. We see this straight line, and someone's like, why don't you just talk to some scholars? Why don't you talk to some, I talked to some archivists. You guys remember? Back, it was October 2017. There's people, but he was talking to someone in the Joseph Smith Papers team. And so I think what the deal is, I mean, there's so many different historians. There are people who are just really loud. Like Curtis is always going to be, I know how to do photoanthropometry. He just doesn't realize that how inaccurate it is, and that nothing, like even his own face, if he did it on his own face with a bunch of pictures, like just do it, Curtis, if you're watching this. See how often you decide that your own face is not yours. That's the whole point. It's a much more complicated process, and clearly he doesn't know how to do that because he couldn't tell that Hiram's brow bone was Hiram's brow bone, and it was so unique, and it's a facial feature, and it's on his skull. Dr. Van de Graaff could see it because he was an anatomist. He taught anatomy, he wrote books on anatomy. His brain studied shapes of bones, Curtis is not into that, He's just so good with words. He's convinced people. Sorry, to me, in my world, he's a Mark Kaufman. Really is. Anyway. Swoop. But anyway, they were talking to this, and they kept forwarding. And I thought this, like the archivist is giving me his name, but then he's saying things, and I'm thinking, wow, what's your name? But then it was this unnamed person. Don't even know who it was. Just in the papers, but they're like Joseph's eyebrows, and they're just going off on how his eyebrows weren't straight. But the very top of my page, I was so excited to find that just in November. At that point, it'd been 4 years of studying, and I'd read through all the quotes on William B. McCrawl's article, but this was one that I think was just, there's just so many people that knew him and talked about what he looked like. So this person said his eyebrows were very, very straight. But you see this straight line verified here on Maudsley's artwork, and his eyebrows. You do see this line sort of coming up right there, and you see sort of this shape. Okay, I could point out so many different shapes I can see. And you see how the bridge of his nose is coming out right there. 100% you do not see that in this new alleged photo. His nose is coming out right there, and this whole thing is flat, and it's a wide triangle, and it's just not him. You yellow, but it's like I can point out there just this shape. It looks like a double wrinkle going on right there, just very deep wrinkles on this side of his face. Of course, this is blurred out, but you do see these high cheekbones. He had high cheekbones. And then David Rogers oil painting. So this is, for me, this is like, I just like how this looks. I don't know, this is the Salt Lake Tribune in a newspaper. Almost no detail, but his nose like actually almost looks normal there. And you've got David Rogers profile painting. If you go to the Beehive House, where Brigham Young's old like desk and chair, and then they've got these there, and I was so excited to take a picture. I was taking all these pictures, and then I looked at it. It was a copy. But of course, the door's opening, there's natural light. They're going to put it someplace safer, so I don't know where the originals are. It wasn't the original, it was a copy. But it was, I think, that same spot. These profiles of Joseph and Hiram Smith that they say was by David Rogers. And if you compare it to, just go to the Joseph Smith papers. Anyway, you can see David Rogers oil painting, but it's the same outfit, and you see this same color, like these colors. It's the same color scheme and same background and same outfit. So with 4 days, maybe Joseph Smith III had an artist paint over it. I don't know. So this is post-mortem, obviously, by Victor Cress. I believe this is a strong enough evidence going against that paper, that claim. They don't want you to. Where's the daguerreotype that's from the 1840s? Like, they don't. I reread it. I was like, wait a minute. They don't have any evidence that there's a daguerreotype from like the 1840s of the painting. Emma wouldn't let it be copied or photographed. And if Joseph Smith was still alive, they would have just taken a photo of Joseph Smith. There's so many flip-flopping points in that. When you look at this, there are things you can only see that I think you can see this angle on the skull. I'll just say that. Whereas on the painting Kimi Christ has, it's just straight across. His face is totally, it's just very level. Whereas it's not that way in my picture or in this painting. And you're really emphasizing some more of these sort of a lighter spot there. That eyebrow comes up and you see some of that brow bone, whereas this is going below the brow bone and it's heavier, and I think he's in the act of furrowing that brow. You really see him furrowing his brow more than ever, which would make sense why there would be a furrowing line closer to this eyebrow. And I point out this sharper angle, but then there's a smoother eyelid. So his left eyelid has a sharper angle than his right, and that's seen there. And you see how these eyebrow hairs go to almost his hairline. So if you go here, you can, so basically, it's best, you guys, if you go to a computer and look at my website, you click on that and it will go here. And you can see a really high resolution copy because they want you to go to their website. But they said, yeah, I got permission, I paid. But the Iowa Historical Society, and this is what Joseph Smith III was proud of. He's like telling Ramsey, go to Iowa, see this one I did. But then he's explaining we're using the daguerreotype. So it makes sense, logical sense, that he didn't change the authentic. Why would he still call it authentic if he was changing the 1842 painting? I think he's using the daguerreotype. There are differences between this and the original that are correct. And that ear is looking a little bit bigger too than I think on the original. So they're making it look like there's a shadow there and his ear is actually a little bit bigger. And then I guess if the light is coming from straight down, maybe it did cast a shadow on his ears, but I still think he's doing artistic liberties and just trying to make him feel better about himself if the ears are as big as, I believe that my picture is him. So, but this painting is really neat, but it's Victor Cress. So even though it's not a life painting, it's a duplicate of a life painting. And it's a duplicate of a life daguerreotype. I really believe that. I think there's too much that is so different and so correct according to the death mask and the skulls, which, the skull was in the ground, and the death mask is here they are in Iowa. The death mask is in Salt Lake City. He had visited, and I'm sure he saw the death mask and maybe had a photo of the death mask. I don't know. But I'm betting he had a daguerreotype of his dad. And the artist was like, okay, I see this difference. I see that. And I think he just wanted to see his dad's face. I think he wanted to see that asymmetry and that maybe step deformity Dr. Harrod talks about. I don't know. So anyway, and yeah, maybe my guy has the pocket watch on there, but I really don't think, I won't say anymore. You can watch my other video about the pocket. Their theories, but I think so many of their theories could easily be disproven if you guys watch that video and just read the article. Anyway, let's trust scientists and the real professionals. I just wish people didn't see Curtis as being able to do more than a forensic anthropologist. That just blows my mind, and I'm like, I give up on trying to, I can't help Can't help you in that other situation. Can't do anything about it. But there are probably a lot of descendants of Madison, and someone might have a Xerox copy of his face. Send it to me, and I'll send it on to, I'm not lying, forensic anthropologist to analyze it. To that picture. Or of the sons, I don't know, but I think dating wise, it does look like a little bit earlier clothing, but there's evidence people wore clothing in the 1850s and 60s like that. Like I have clothes from early 2000, not many, but at this point, that was a long time ago. But sometimes, especially back then, they would keep clothes forever, and a lot of Joseph's clothes were even falling apart. So anyway, and you can also go to this main page, and I might edit this more, but it really did like a side by side pretty far down here, but I'm trying to do individual pages. So if you want to just go look at something, if you have that, know who owns that original, I would, I just want to, basically all I'm looking for is a certified or just a word saying, okay, this has been photographed and not changed. We did not flip the orientation at all of this painting. Let me know, because even on the Church of Christ Latter-day Saints page, you can't, there are photos of the death mask flipped around, because I know his death mask that well. I think it's the one there's red in it, but they flipped it. They don't explain that they did. They just did. So I don't totally trust that things are raw and unedited on there. Not that there's a nefarious thing going on there, but as far as like talking to scholars, and like I talked to the church history department, I literally, I won't say that, but I talked to an archivist who was talking to someone, but I never found out the name. But this archivist is giving me his name. And so I'm thinking it's the archivist saying that. Then I'm rereading. I'm like, oh, he's quoting someone. Because then the last thing he was like, oh, here's another email from this guy, but he's still finishing it with the archivist. Give me his full first and last name, but it wasn't him that was saying these things. But it just was really, like they weren't even looking at my photo. They're all, his collar is low on the neck. His collar literally covers his jawline. Well, his hair's not brushed forward. Trying to find a good. I'm just gonna pull back my picture. This one's a little bit more contrasty. So his hair is definitely brushed forward. It's going over his ears. It's coming straight. It's coming at you. Even these little hairs, they look like they're coming at you. I think he just got a blunt haircut. And this hair could have been, an inch or two, just an inch or two coming forward and flipping it up. Guys do that today. A lot of guys in their early 30s have this hairline, and they're just growing it out a little bit and plopping up, and nobody's saying, oh, you're so bold, but that's what the person was saying. So I was getting that, and then they're saying his collar's low on his neck. I mean, look at his collar. His jawline is under there. That's how high the collar is. And they're like, oh, his vest is plaid. That's 1850s style. Like I've shown the emails before, and it's straight. And then when I'd sent them the vest from the Pioneer Memorial Museum. They just didn't care. They're just so biased. So when you initially so basically, to answer someone saying that, I think I'll just say when we get published, then people would be more serious, and it'd be more than the one person that's just loud. You know what I mean? There could be like 100 smart historians, and some of them believe there could be a photograph of Joseph Smith, but the one who really doesn't, of course, he's gonna be the loudest. Like, I'll talk to them. I'll talk to them. That's what's going on. But then they could help research some things. But I think people that knew the guy Gregory that I worked with, and if they bought some of those photos from the family album, might be able to piece together. I think that's the only hope I have of that, but I have strong hopes for that. Like, I think that's an extreme possibility. You could criticize me, being, probably me. There's things we're gonna find out, and things just happen with time. So don't be a jerk. Don't be a jerk face. Be nice. Are people jerk faces? Church history library? Some of them, yeah, because they're really annoyed with all these alleged photos. I don't totally blame them, but this is Joseph Smith's face, and I really believe that. So anyway, the other one's not. Have a good day. Bye.